All right, y'all. So I'm here again sharing some more information. So I've just been doing some research for the past couple of weeks on the parasympathetic and parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, which is a part of the autonomic nervous system, ANS, PSNS, parasympathetic nervous system, and SNS, sympathetic nervous system. And again, both are components of the ANS, uh, which is a part of the vagus nerve, right? And why this is important to understand this stuff is because, well, for obviously for health reasons. Number one is just for health reasons. The more you know about your own physiology and your anatomy, you take better care of yourself. That's just one most important reason is for health. But also, it's not but consistent with health reasons is the so that you know where you're at. Like this stuff determines your whole life. It determines everything you do. It flows, cascades, and flows into everything you do. Well, so what I mean by that is, for instance, sympathetic nerve system dominance, sympathetic nervous system dominance is never good. Let me rephrase. It's not the best state to stay in, and I'm gonna tell you why. The sympathetic nervous system is incredible. It's necessary, obviously. It's part of your system, so it's needed. If you're in danger, it triggers the fight or flight uh, response. That's what the sympathetic nervous system does, right? If there's a threat, it will allow you to confront that threat or to flee from that threat. And it has a series of physiological responses and changes. So, for instance, the sympathetic nervous system, if you're in that state, your heart rate is going to elevate, right? Fight or flight. Your heart rate is going to go up, so your heart's going to beat faster in the sympathetic nervous state. Your blood pressure is going to be higher, obviously, right? Your adrenaline, right? Your adrenaline is going to increase. So this means you're going to now increase your hormone of cortisol output. So you're going to elevate cortisol hormones, which are stress hormones. So if you got to run from a threat, that's needed. That's good. So you know all your energies are going to be elevated, right? Now, after that threat is over with, your parasympathetic nervous system comes in and it relaxes, it regulates your body, it brings you back to what's called homeostasis. It means all your glands, your adrenal glands, all your endocrine system starts to be regulated, blood pressure comes down, your heart rate comes down, cortisol levels come down, and your whole body, everything calms, relaxes, and rests, right? So that's how it works. And that works with the ANS, autonomic nervous system. Autonomic is another word for automatic, meaning all of this stuff is done involuntarily and you have no say-so in it, right? This is involuntary and it's reflexive. But the problem is that most people, the sympathetic nervous system keeps you in survival mode. That's what the sympathetic nervous system does. It puts you in survival mode. So the downside to the sympathetic nervous system is if there is no threat, and your cortisol levels are still elevated, your heart rate is still elevated, your blood pressure is still elevated. You see the problem? There's no threat, but your body's still in high alert. Your muscles are still contracting, which leads to muscle tension, which leads to agitation, frustration, and anxiety. So most human beings, most of us, are what's called sympathetic nervous system dominance, right? So you have a sympathetic nervous system dominance. That's the state you're in. In other words, your sympathetic nervous system is dominating your parasympathetic nervous system and your autonomic nervous system, which is connected to the vagus nerve, which is in the brain. So the downside to that is if you're always, this is why a lot of people are always on, agitated. You're easily irritable. If you're in that dominance, that sympathetic nervous system dominance, you're easily irritated. You get irritated very easily because all your energies, all your adrenaline, all your bodily functions are on high alert. and there's no threat. There's no threat, right? So now you're subject and more susceptible to panic attacks, headaches, migraines. You need some kind of pill to manage and to handle and manage your stress, because your stress levels, your cortisol levels are so high. Your cortisol, your adrenaline is pushing out extremely high levels of cortisol, right? And high levels of cortisol is not good, because cortisol levels also increase your sugar level. So now you're going to have a high sugar, glucose. Everything's going to be high. So your sugar is going to be high. But again, like I said, if you need to run, if you need to fight, if you need, if you need to do something that put your life in some kind of threat or danger, that's good, because that's what allows you to escape and to be able to fight and to do what you have to do. But if you're in that state when there's no threat, just on a day-to-day basis, that's unhealthy. It's taxing, and it's debilitating to the rest of to the rest of your life, to everything outside of you. It debilitates your life. So it has a crippling and a paralyzing effect on you. So the sympathetic nervous system is never good to always be in that state when there is no threat. So the purpose of this video is saying that it's good to understand these things, and then you can monitor yourself. You can see which state you preside in mostly. Parasympathetic is excellent. It's the opposite. It's excellent if there's no threat. If there's a threat and you're in parasympathetic, that's not good. If there's a threat, you need to be in sympathetic. But if there's no threat, the parasympathetic is the best state you want to be in. If you're in the workforce, in the workroom, you want to be in parasympathetic. Why? Because parasympathetic means that the parasympathetic nervous system regulates, controls, and balances all of your endocrine glands. I believe you have 9 glands. So the parasympathetic, its purpose is to regulate, to balance, to keep your heart rate low, right? So it decreases the heart rate, improves your breathing, right? It rests and relaxes all the other nerves in the body. And this is the parasympathetic. So the parasympathetic nervous system it's healthy when there's no threat. And it keeps you calm. It relaxes you. It allows your body to digest properly, right? So it's the opposite of the sympathetic. It's the rest, relaxation, composure, and calm state that your nervous system, your glands, your body, internal organs want to be in. And it's called homeostasis, which is balanced, right? And both, like I said, both have their necessary function. However, if one is dominant over the other, it can be good, it can be bad, depending on what life or the circumstances call for. And like I said, most of us, including myself, we're mainly in sympathetic nervous system dominance because we're constantly being threatened from outside, whether it's a phone bill, gas bill, light bill, your car payments, car notes. These are threats. Right? I don't know about you, but they're threats to me. These are foreign invaders. I come home and all I see is phone bills and light bills and gas bills, and that puts me on edge. You know what I'm saying? Bill collectors calling you out the gazoo. Those are foreign invaders. Those are high treason. Invaders coming to invade my peace. Right? So we're constantly under stress. Right? And if it's not the bills, then it's in your workforce, right? It could be the supervisor, the manager, your coworkers, the guy who take the parking spot, your parking spot. I mean, we're constantly there's always some outside foreign entity invading our peace of mind, our state of mind, our just our being, our person. So that means because of these various things that and this is normal. I'm being facetious. I'm laughing a little bit here to add some levity, but this is normal, right? Bill collectors and bills piling up. That's everyday, day-to-day stuff that we all have to deal with, right? It's called responsibilities, right? How we manage our risk and stuff, that's another question. But we all have bills to pay. We all have responsibilities. You have your kids. Your kids are behaving in school, misbehaving in school, whatever. So we all have stressors that puts us in the that triggers and activates the sympathetic nervous system. And because depending on the level of stress and how you handle stress and whether you take enough vacations or you don't take vacations or you take quiet times, and again, how you manage your overall mental health will determine if you're in parasympathetic dominance or sympathetic dominance. The goal is to be in parasympathetic dominance because parasympathetic nervous system is what regulates, controls, relaxes, calms the heart, your blood pressure decreases, cortisol levels, so on and so forth. So the goal is so it's interesting. It's good to know these things, right? It's good to know these things, know how your body functions, understand how your body operates, at least some basics. I'm not telling you you have to be a doctor, but just know some basics about your body, just like you know some basics about your car and how your car works, right? It's the same thing. And what is important, so when you start feeling your stress levels increasing, when you start feeling anxious, when you start feeling panic attacks or any kind of agitation, or you start feeling, you can monitor your mood throughout the day. You can take steps to reassess, reevaluate, and stabilize and shift from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system. And how you do that shift is easy. Breathing. Practice breathing techniques. Breathing from the diaphragm, from your gut, right? Holding your breath, exhaling, inhale and exhale. Just taking deep breaths throughout the day, right? You might have an interval throughout the day, midday, morning, whatever. Sit for a few minutes in the morning before you go to work, at night before you go to bed. Throughout the day, you can practice certain breathing techniques. And and when I say breathing techniques, it's nothing really special. You just want to be more mindful of your breathing. Inhale, slow, exhale, slow, inhale, slow, exhale, slow. Get that carbon dioxide out, takes in some oxygen, and get that blood circulating. And this will allow you to if you are in sympathetic nervous system state, like most of us are, it will allow you to shift into your parasympathetic. Your body will shift naturally because remember, these are involuntarily, and reflexive functions that you have no say-so in. Your body, that's what's called the autonomic nervous system, ANS, autonomic, right? Because you don't ever have to think about breathing. You don't ever have to think about digesting your food. You don't ever have to think about blinking your eyes, right? These are all things that the autonomic nervous system, these are functions that the autonomic nervous system carries on without your input. Without your input, you have zero input, right? So, or what you can do, being mindful of how it works, is you can say, okay, I can practice breathing techniques. Exercising is a phenomenal way, again, to shift from the sympathetic to the parasympathetic by releasing the endorphins, right? The happy chemicals. That will also help. Meditation, something I do a lot of. All three of those I do a lot of. Meditation, breathing, exercising, right? Meditation is another phenomenal way to help stabilize and shift out of the sympathetic into the parasympathetic, because again, you are naturally most oftentimes in sympathetic because of what I said in the aforementioned. All of life's responsibilities are coming at you, foreign invaders, right? So yeah, I just want to share that with you guys. I got to get back to some research now, and if I come across any more information, I'll keep you guys up to date. Till next time, you know what to do. If you like it, leave a comment. Peace.